Hello everyone, this is CY once again. Been really busy recently, and recently I have quite a lot of machine that require servicing, and I have encountered a DF64 with a faulty switch, and the switch can only be uh, when you turn on the power, right? The switch will only be you can only control the switch by switching on and off the main switch and not by the button at the bottom of the grinder. And I've repaired that, and I want to share with you my latest design of the uh, grind indicator. And I'm also currently working to prototype uh, sort of an anti-popcorn device that can be installed directly onto the metal neck without the use of bellow. Because I believe I think um, if we can grind the coffee beans without bellowing, which means that we will not be introducing a lot of fine coffee powder into the whatever grind size that we are getting, and that will actually give us more consistent tasting result, rather than you will always give us a muddy cup whereby for example when you grind for filtered coffee that's extra fine, and that will give you the coffee that's not so clear and lacking in clarity. And that's a result of you bellowing. When you finish grinding the coffee, usually we'll bellow to get all the remnants of the coffee ground that stuck inside the burr. By bellowing, we're actually trying to bellow out the fine coffee powder, and we try to get as much out as possible. I think there's been quite a bit of discussion about what should be the procedure to do that. And I think I agree with some of the comment on the Facebook group, the DF64, and they mentioned that you should try to overdose a little bit. What it means by overdose is you try to grind slightly more, and you can actually test out what's the retention without bellowing, which means to say that if let's say without bellow, when you grind the coffee bean, you are getting about, let's say you weigh 18 grams, you're only getting about 17.5, which means there's a 0.5 grams of coffee ground that's stuck inside the grinder without bellow. And if you and usually what we do is before the grinding finishes, we will try to bellow out so that we'll try to get as much coffee out as possible. But usually what happens is there will be a bit of re-grinding of the coffee, which means the previously grinded coffee bean will be re-grinded by the burr, and then it becomes finer and finer. And over time, this as you bellow, the fine coffee powder will actually be bellow out. And if let's say you are brewing a filter coffee, the fine coffee powder will be mixed with your coarser coffee ground, and that will give you the muddy taste and the low in clarity. And the same thing for espresso. If you grind for espresso, and when you try to when you try to bellow out, again the re-grinding of the coffee bean will introduce a lot of fine coffee powder, and that again will cause what we call the channeling, uneven extractions and things like that. So I do agree, and I'm going to experiment it to see whether overdosing it actually works, and is there a way to calculate how much we should overdose. Is there a formula for it, or is there a procedure, or is there a guideline to follow? I will try to find that out. And if you have any ideas, and if you've already been doing that, please feedback in the comment section down below, and let me know how you actually do it so we can share with more people. And I think the community of the DF64 grinders are great. And yep, this is a grinder that actually works out of the box. And if you are able to tinker it to modify a little bit, it actually improve your user experience by a lot. And so far the grinder has been a great single dose coffee grinder, and with a lot of modification that the community has made and introduced, it has made the grinder so popular that it is always out of stock whenever we order it. And yep, so I will try to do a few more videos on how I can do that, and I'm going to show you my latest design on the grind indicator. And let's go. So as you can see, this is actually the switch, right? This is actually the switch that controls the grinder switch on switch off button, right? This piece is actually faulty, and actually remove and rewire all the wires with a new spare part. So this is the 41, and now the grinder works perfectly. I should have taken a video of me showing you the 40 grinder, but I forgot about that. I'm too eager to actually repair this, and I've forgotten to take a video of that. I'll try to see whether I have some old videos which my customer has sent to me, and I think that will demonstrate that this grinder is not able to switch on and off with the button here. So if your grinder is unable to switch on and off here, and you can only turn off or on the grinder by using the main plug, that is most likely because this piece is 40, right? And this piece can actually be replaced and changed, right? I believe this is actually the one that's 40. If you are good in electronics, you can actually unsolder this part, and you can just buy this and replace it. Okay, you can see here that the button can no longer control the on off button of the grinder, and in order for you to off the grinder, you have to off the main switch. Okay, so currently this is my latest design of my grind indicator, right? Some of you have been asking how do you actually find the true zero, and now I'm going to show you. Alright, so let me try to remove this now. It is kind of difficult with one hand. Okay, let me try to get this out first. Right, so this is actually the latest design. I printed this in a wood filament, so it's a bit of lighter color in wood. I may do something to the color to make it look more like the real wood. So currently my grinder is a bit funny. I think the sticker wasn't stick properly. So what happens is that okay, let me show you. Usually if your grinder comes with this, the easiest way to check for 0 point is actually to screw your grinder all the way clockwise until your grinder cannot move anymore, and you try to manually turn this, and you should not be able to turn this. You just have to unscrew it slightly in the anti-clockwise direction, and you should be able to find that the center rotor is able to turn freely, which means that you have overturned unturned it slightly more. So you just have to turn it clockwise. You can hear the two burrs touching each other. Okay, I'm quite sure you can hear that. If I turn on the grinder now, you'll hear the grinding noise, but please don't do this to your own grinder. Yeah, can you hear that the two grinder is actually touching? So this is slightly beyond your 0 point. So at this point, you just have to turn your grinder slightly in the anti-clockwise direction to unloosen it a little bit, and then you can actually turn freely, right? As long as the grinder doesn't still have a little bit of noise of the two burr grinding touching each other, that's fine. So right now we can actually install the new grind indicator. Okay, this is actually the updated version, whereby the ones, since they updated the new font, and I have not really updated my grind indicator, and this is the one. So now it is thicker in design, so I think it's 6 to 7 mm thick, which is more rigid now. And what you need to do is very simple, right? Just find where your zero is. This true zero is where the two burrs touch each other, and you can hear the two burrs slightly gently grinding each other. Don't worry about that, there's nothing wrong. You will not damage your burr if you don't grind too deeply. And again, this design is actually a very tight fit, but I've designed in such a way that you can see that there are some cutout here, which is easier for you to turn. So basically you just have to push all the way down, alright, and then you can actually turn it easily now. So you can see currently this is at 0, and if I switch on the grinder again, you can hear the two grinders touching each other. And now if let's say I want to make sure that this doesn't happen, so what happens is I will just turn slightly over, and I switch on again to hear. You can see that there's no more sound of the two burr touching each other. And now what you can do is you can turn this slightly, and this will be your new 0. And from here you can actually adjust your grinder to grind at whatever grind size that you want to be. Let's say 20 or 15 for espresso, or maybe 55 or beyond for filtered coffee. Yeah, and you can see that the marking is now clearly indicating the position, and the pointer here actually point exactly at the dial at the side. Okay, so this is actually an update, and I'm working in collaboration with one of my friend to work out a anti-popcorn device that that will just sit attaching to this without having to use the bellow. So I'm working on that. I'm coming up with a prototype, and I hope I can come up with a set of guideline for you guys if you want to do without the bellow. Yep, so this is what I have for you today, and thank you for watching. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, this is CY once again. If you're first time joining me, right, my channel is all about having fun making coffee. I have a lot of content for the DF64, and this will probably be the last few that I'm going to make with DF64, because I have exciting news for you. I will be announcing it very soon. It's something related to grinder as well, a single dose grinder. So stay tuned for that. And yep, so I'll have a few more updates on the modifications I've made. I'm going to revise my base, the 10-degree tilt base. I'm going to revise it so that it includes opening at the bottom for you to insert a friction grip pad, so that you can actually rest the grinder on my 10-degree tilt base, and the base shouldn't be able to vibrate because now it has a friction pad below, and you can buy that easily from hardware store. So that's what will be coming. And I'm also planning to do probably a portafilter adapter for the 54mm portafilter for brewing models such as Barista Express, Barista Pro, Barista Touch, the Infuser, Bambino Plus, and such models that uses a 54mm portafilter. I'm also trying to work on that to come out with a adapting system so that you can actually put your 50 or 4mm portafilter. I hope I have time for that. Okay, so that's what I have for you today. Remember, subscribe to my channels, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. But not the least, this is a special shout out to Simon from Anotter Coffee. Right, he actually suggested that we should work on a modification that doesn't use the bellow system, because I agree with Simon that bellow is actually not a very good way of getting out the coffee ground. You can still use the bellow, but yeah, so it just pump up too much fine, and it gives a bit of a difference in the coffee flavor, especially if you are looking for high clarity in your filter coffee, or you are looking for not the muddy kind of espresso shot. Yep, so stay tuned. Right, this is a shout out to Simon. Yep, I will be working with Simon from Another Coffee to come up with a prototype for that. So thank you for watching. See you again.